morning, ALA. This is Mrs. Hickson. Let's talk about lunch really quick. Today we are having a pizza sub melt, grilled cheese sandwich, chicken popcorn with breadstick, pepperoni pizza, Baja salad with dinner roll, oranges, fruit mix, fruit blend, baked beans, and baby carrots. Tomorrow for breakfast, we are having waffles with chocolate chip toppings.
I remember when I was in elementary school, things were much simpler back then, and there was really only one thing that kind of divided us. There were those that ate the school lunch and those that brought their own lunch to school. I was one of the students that ate lunch at school from the school cafeteria. And listen, I know school lunches in the U.S. have a bad rep. There are those viral posts that compare our school lunch to the school lunch served in other countries. And could we do better? Absolutely. Is school cafeteria lunch perfect? Not by any means. But if there's one thing that has really surprised me in my journey as an educator at a public school, it's just how crucial school lunch is. That's why the admin team at the school that I work for always tries their best to hype up the school lunch menu the best they can. I mean, think about it. Public schools are the only large-scale system set in place that accepts any and all children, regardless of background, where you come from, anything. And they provide each child with 2 meals a day for 5 days a week. That is 10 meals per child that struggling adults don't have to worry about. I think we can all agree that no child should go hungry or even have to worry about where their next meal is coming from. As adults, we know how important nutrition is for our bodies, not just physically, but also mentally. This reliance on proper nutrition is even more important for children as they're developing, and those children depend on us, the adults, to bring them those essential nutrients. Public schools, as underfunded as they are able to provide these meals to students who need it, and I was one of those students. According to a report done by the Children's Defense Fund, they state that 1 in 6 children in the United States live in a household that experience food insecurity. That's around 17 million households. So when we ask the question, how are the children? The honest answer is that some children are hungry. And while the big picture solution is to remind our legislators who they work for and demand action, there are families across the country that need immediate solutions. The school day ends at 4:30 for most middle schoolers, but there are still more meals to come after that. These families still need solutions. One possible solution is exemplified in the Thrive Market at O.D. Wyatt High School in the east side of Fort Worth, where I grew up at. This innovative program brings the grocery store on campus for select students in need. The Thrive program is a collaboration between the school and Texas Health Resources. It is one of the many popping up across North Texas, and to share with us a little bit more about the program is Danelle.
My name is Danelle Parker, and I'm the Director of Community Health Improvement for Texas Health Resources. What brought forward this particular Thrive program is Community Health Improvement from Texas Health Resources does a community health needs assessment every 3 years. And we look at communities and disparities, health disparities, social determinants of health, which is food insecurity or transportation. And we find areas or pockets of community, it can be zip codes or it can be census tract, and we look at, how significant is that need versus some of the other areas? And we compare it against Texas data and then U.S. data. And this particular zip code, 76119, showed a significant disparity in blood pressure and also in food insecurity. And so this zip code was chosen, and this school was chosen specifically based on our data that showed this was an area of need. Because you really have to consider, if you live in a home where you're not going to have dinner that night, are you worried about your homework? And in recognizing that we expect these kids to behave when they come to school, but maybe there's a domestic violence issue at home, or maybe they're hearing their parents argue finances and being evicted. They've got to be able to have some place to come to deal with those problems and learn how to. Now that we've all experienced the trauma of a pandemic, you can really look at, okay, some people are dealing with it well, some people are not, and how do we help the people that are not dealing with it well learn to be resilient?
Here, students like Mariah can access essential resources like food and toiletries at no cost.
My name is Mariah Leonard, and I'm from O.D. Wyatt. I'm in 12th grade, and I draw and I sing and I dance. My first time getting food from this market is pretty good. everything's fresh, and I got the best help that I could get. And I am grateful that she had helped me out and introduced me to her store.
So who is she?
Legina Adams.
Before the store, then how would you get access to food? How would you find food?
Well, I have food stamps, and I wasn't able to have food stamps on my card. So whenever Miss Legina, when she found out, she said, hey, tell me what's going on. And I told her what's going on, that I didn't have food stamps on my food stamps, and that I was going hungry at the moment, and I didn't have nothing to eat. She was like, okay, well, I'm going to bring you some food from my store. And that's what she did, and that's what I'm grateful for. Yeah, riding with Miss Adams is a great experience, and it actually helps me a lot to learn how to help others and to know that going hungry is not, you're not alone to go hungry, and that you always have someone there for you.
If you had a chance to wave a magic wand and suddenly have like freedom, food safety, security for everyone, what would that look like to you? What do you think would have to happen?
For that to happen, just to put joy on other people's faces, to make sure that they have something there. And pretty much, I don't really see anything for myself, but for others.
Gotcha. Oh, that's sweet. Is there anything else that you, I guess, would want the listeners to know about a program like this, or about people that were in a similar situation as yours, that were going a bit hungry, didn't have access to food, that ran out of funds on your food stamps?
Well, I would say they should come here, because this is like the best place and the safest place that you can get any food or anything, like things you need for your children, things you need for your teenage girls. Coming here is like the best place you can ever come and change other children's lives, to actually know there's a program that they're not alone in.
Despite her hardships, Mariah was still focused on helping and giving back to her community, which is something that comes from her own heart, but it's also something that was instilled in her and nurtured in her through her relationship with Miss Adams, the educator that works in partnership with this market. Learning about her story was just so inspiring. You get to hear the passion and the love behind her voice and how she speaks about this program. And Miss Adams reminded me of the several teachers that helped me while I was growing up through elementary school and middle school, just with a giving nature and a good heart. And it was so great to see all the work that she does with the children. I hope you enjoy getting to meet Miss Adams and you can hear the passion behind what she does.
Hi, my name is Legenia Adams. I'm a family engagement specialist here at Oscar Dean Wyatt. I've been here since 2005, working with the behavioral students as well. And then in 2013, I started working with the Morningside Children's Partnership, where everything kind of started coming into full focus by being a member of the community. Being a native here in Texas, life hadn't been always good for me, always. So I know when times when food was a little low or the money wasn't enough, how I had to go and kind of reach out to other entities. You make this much, you don't make enough, you don't have enough kids. You know, it's always some other factors involved that it didn't make sense to me. If you hungry, you hungry. If you need lights, water, and gas, you need lights, water, and gas. So I just think it's a lot of big pockets around here that we probably haven't even touched. But then when you hear about situations like this, it shouldn't be a problem for you to give, because that's our first job, to give. And especially when COVID was there, we had students who their whole house was wiped out and the student was left. You know, myself and another coworker, we had to help plan a funeral when it was a lot of hunger going on. We had pandemic pull-up. I went and got all the Suburbans from the district and put some hall monitors. They volunteered their time to do this. And we all went to some of the homes that we knew that the kids didn't have the laptop, but they still have to do their work. You know, we had kids that were hungry. We were passing out food, getting food from the cafeteria. That kid, you know, you come into work to make food, but there are no kids here. Okay, so we would take that food, take it, and go and deliver it to where we know that the hunger was at its best. So, but for the most part, kids are happier. They know whatever they need, they can come here to OD Wyatt. The market came to be when, again, myself, Mr. Washington, and a couple of other student, we used to be called the SOS, Student on Campus Support, and we were just trying to figure out some programs or some different things where kids can have hands-on experiences, and again, being able to use them for the benefit of the community and not just for self. So such as planting the garden. It teaches the kids to be social with each other, how to work together. We started this back in 2000, right, a little bit before COVID, I believe. We came to just started coming up with ideas, talking about having chickens and getting people in line to build us chicken coops and, things of that nature. Wanted to do agriculture, which that's coming next, agriculture with horses and cows. In this area over here, we have a lot of ranchers and farmers in the neighborhood, and they're thriving and surviving. So why can't we have that here on our campus where kids can learn other things to do than your normal suit and tie occupations, careers? It's other things you can do as well. The challenges everyone faces, I'm sure, is money. Money is always the the culprit of everything that we need to do. But pretty much, and then the willingness, people to put their hands to the plow. And, it's a big responsibility to ranching and farming and just anything that you do that's going to be positive. It's always, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. But if you let the students tell you the things that they want and what their need, especially coming out of COVID, things are not always back together. Money is still low. Food, we still have a shortage of food. A lot of the resources that we do receive, a lot of it is donated as far as being purchasing, but a lot of monies is still needed. But however, it is some lovely people around us. We have people thousands of miles away are willing, because of this great endeavor, to be able to donate and ship us food and stuff so we can be able to help our community at hand. The students here they're so excited about it, being able to know if I don't have enough food stamps, if my family don't have enough, or my papa lose his job, they can come to school and be able to thrive and get their food and other things that we have that you couldn't buy with a SNAP card or a food card.
So people listening and who want to support kind of people like you, programs like this, what do you think they can do on an individual level to kind of contribute in a way, in their own specific way?
Let your local grocery stores know what you're doing, where you're going. Hey, I have a Thrive Market. Our market feeds anybody, everybody. How can you donate? And it teaches that student to become a giver. More so, because a lot of them know what it is to be hungry. So that's what we're teaching: community service, humanity. We're teaching all those different type things, but that's what they can do. They can go to their local grocers, their local farmers. We have a lot of gardens around here, neighborhood gardens. Donate, give that extra, bring it here so we can be able to help and feed our people.
Gotcha. And we were talking earlier, you explained a little bit of some negative backlash. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yes, I had some people on the Facebook platform, and they were saying that we were low-skilled, low-level adults for making the children work for food. And I had to correct some people. That's not what we're doing. These kids are learning how to operate and run a business. Okay, they're learning how to operate a business. They're getting their credits. That's important. They're getting their credits. They're learning how to socialize. They're learning how to work with others, many components. But it's not about the food, because some of those kids that are working in here don't even need it. They probably donated themselves, okay? My whole senior class, all I have to do is tell them, hey, y'all go out and get donations. They were able to buy Christmas presents for all of the elementary schools around us, for like the little bitty kid, the pre-K. Yeah, that's what the senior class did. No other big giant business came and donated, even though that they asked. But I had to get some people straight. That's not what this is all about. We're teaching our children up here to learn how to be givers, learn how to communicate, and let people know it's okay if you're falling on hard. And it ain't even about the hard times, but those people on there was saying that these government funded programs, this is not government funding. This is simply donations because we ask. Okay, that's what this was about. This is foundations giving. This has nothing to do with any kind of government anything. Our wonderful superintendent said yes. Our wonderful principal said yes. And now we're saying yes to do whatever we need to do, roll up our sleeves, and we're going to make this happen, and it's going to be bigger. And we were first.
And you have these wonderful programs and wonderful educators like you that kind of do this hard work. But school ends in May, right? So
Yes.
in the summer, what happens to those students that need that support? What is in place for them?
They're going to be able to come here with their family. They're going to be able to come here. Things are still going to go on. They're going to still come and get their points, do their, their little modules, their ripple effect modules. They're going to be able to come here and still be able to thrive even in the summertime. Okay. And I'm going to go out, my team and we're going to still go out and solicit those donations so we can make sure they have more than enough.
Wow, I'm so grateful that we have educators like Ms. Allums who are super inspiring, and I'm happy that those families from ODY will have those immediate solutions because of the wonderful educators like her. All that being said, we can't allow this to become the norm. It's not sustainable, and we must keep our eye on the bigger picture, which is legislative action, which is why it frustrates me and it boggles my mind to learn that the Dallas Morning News reports that Texas refused $450 million to help feed 3.8 million hungry kids this summer. Texas isn't alone in this. It's Alabama, Alaska, Florida, Idaho, Iowa, Louisiana, Mississippi, Oklahoma, South Carolina, South Dakota, Vermont, Wyoming, and Georgia. And we actually have a citizen from Georgia on the podcast with us right now, who happens to also be a communications fellow with Community Change and is generous enough to share with us her take on the issue of food insecurity. Thank you so much for joining us, Pamela.
My pleasure, Omar. Thank you for having me. Well, when I first heard that Georgia was refusing to feed kids, I was livid and I wanted to do something about it. So I'm a word person. I wanted to put it in print. I took it upon myself. I'm like, I'm going to write some letters to the editors. We call them LTEs. I was getting ready to say that. And letter to the editors are brief, but they have an impact. So I chose the biggest paper in our area called the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. And then another newspaper I'm familiar with in Albany, Georgia, called The Herald. And I sat down and basically hit the keys and let them have it. I'm like, I can't believe that the children are being denied an opportunity that's already being provided for of having summer meals, and that low-income people are probably going to have some difficulty with providing the meals that the children would normally be receiving at school. So I wrote a letter to the editor, and they both got published as I intended, because I was going back. And I just care about the issue of children being fed so much because I'm someone, when I was a young mom, through no fault of my own, I ended up in deep poverty. And I mean, a paltry existence. And the first thing that we did when we got off the streets was to get SNAP. Well, it was called food stamps back then. And we got emergency SNAP. And then I applied to receive it on a monthly basis. And it made the difference. I mean, our household was built around having those food stamps and planning meals and being able to know that I could provide for my two boys. They were 1.5 and 9 years old. Because when I was in that situation, if my children couldn't come to me and when they said, Mommy, I'm hungry, and I didn't have anything to feed, I would have felt like I was some type of unfit parent. But it doesn't have to be that way. And it's certainly not when it was already provisions being made for that. All they were asking for was $40 a month per child. So when I wrote the letter, I stated what my issue was, that I was disappointed that they didn't opt to provide the summer meals. And I, in a very brief way, just told them, as someone who knows, because I know what it's like to have to struggle for groceries, let them know why it was personal for me, and then mentioned my governor's name as the person who refused that. I just can't imagine who doesn't want children to be fed.
So let me ask you, because this is kind of new to me. This approach of writing to the editor as a way of trying to make a difference or trying to make an impact. Could you explain how that works or why that's effective?
Yes, it's effective because congressional members care about everywhere their name appears and what follows in front of it and behind it. So someone in their office has the job of literally monitoring that. And when you write that letter, basically calling them out, it's going to get noticed. So Congress works for us. Don't forget that. It's very important that people remember Congress works for us. But even the best of congressional members isn't going to know everything. So it's important to speak up. And when you speak up, you are letting your member of Congress know what the issues of their constituents are. And it's an easy thing to do. You just picking up that paper, or if a neighbor has it, you don't get it, pick up a newspaper, go straight to the editorial section, and somewhere down at the bottom of that page, you're most likely to find out what the terms of the letter are. When I say that, a word count. Some will give you more words than others, but it's as simple as picking up your paper and finding out, and then stating what you're referring to. Hey, I'm writing about children not being fed, and my personal piece in that little short letter was, I'm someone who in the past was in poverty and knows what it was like to struggle for groceries all the time, and basically let them know. So if you don't already are not familiar with your congressional member, look them up. It's easy to do online. And once you find that out, that's your way of making that contact, because they, again, as I mentioned, they care about those letters, and that is one thing that won't cost you much, and you could speak your piece and it's going to get some attention. So I advise anyone who is concerned about something like feeding children, you can get together as a group and do a whole campaign. I've been in groups of rooms with people where we all sat down and wrote a letter to the editor. Try that and see what an impact it gets. So again, it's just so important to speak up and tell your congressional member exactly how you feel. You can make a difference.
I love that. I love that advice. And I think, like you said, it's important that we share how we feel and share our stories, because as my mentor told me the past week, we might not be able to solve the bigger issue, the big picture, but we can solve the alone. And in sharing the stories, people understand that a lot of us are going through similar situations. And when we join together, that's when we can make a change. So thank you so much again, Pamela, for joining me, and also the listeners to ask the question, how are the children? And now that we know that some children are struggling with food insecurity and know that we can take action through writing letters to the editor, hopefully we can take some time to do that. So thank you, Pamela.
And thank you for having me, Omar.